Picture this. You are flying at 35,000 feet. Nothing but darkness below you, and an endless sky above. No cities, no light, no life, just the quiet hum of engines, and the soft whisper of the radio. Now imagine that silence suddenly speaks back. It started like any other night flight across the Pacific.com skies. Stable instruments, everything exactly where it should be. Captain Rohr had done this route for years. Thousands of hours over open ocean. Nothing surprised him anymore, at least. That's what he thought. Meridian 417, maintaining flight level 350. My voice was steady, routine, normal. That's how these flights always begin. For the first 2 hours, nothing happened. No turbulence, no traffic, no problems, just black ocean below, and stars above so bright. They almost didn't look real then. At exactly 2:13 Zulu, the radio crackled. Ethan Cole. I froze. Not the call sign, not the flight number, my name, my full name. The cockpit went completely silent. Even the engines felt quieter somehow. Ethan Cole. Do you copy? I looked at Captain Rohr. He didn't move, didn't even blink. Did you hear that? I whispered. He nodded, slowly, then pointed to the laminated card clipped beside the controls. Rule 1, he said. I didn't want to look, but I did. Between 2:10 and 3 o'clock. Zulu. Do not respond to any radio call that uses your full name, unless it comes through official company frequency. My throat went dry, because the voice was perfect. Professional.com. Exactly like operations. Ethan, this is Meridian Ops. We need you to respond immediately. My hand moved, almost automatically, toward the transmit button. Don't. Rohr's voice cut through the cockpit. Sharp, final. That's not Ops. How do you know? I asked. He didn't answer right away, just stared at the radio. Because Ops doesn't use your name like that, he said quietly. And they never rush you. The radio crackled again. More urgent now. Ethan Cole, this is urgent. Confirm your status immediately. It sounded real, to real. Every instinct in my body told me to respond, to acknowledge, to follow protocol. But something felt wrong. The frequency display flickered slightly, just for a second, barely. Noticeable, but enough. This is Meridian 417, Rohr said, switching channels. Confirm you're trying to reach us. Static. Then the usual delay. 417. Negative. No calls initiated from our side. You are clear on all channels. I felt my stomach drop. The voice came back instantly, like it had been listening. Ethan, don't ignore me this time. It sounded different, softer, closer, almost personal. Something's wrong, I whispered. Rohr didn't respond. He just reached up and turned the radio volume slightly down. We don't engage, he said. We don't acknowledge. We don't exist to it. The radio continued for another 30 seconds, calling my name. changing tone, shifting between calm, concern, and irritation. Then, suddenly, silence, no static, no signal, nothing, like it had never been there. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "What was that?" I asked. Roar leaned back in his seat, eyes still fixed forward. "That," he said quietly, "was the easy test. I didn't like the sound of that. Easy." I repeated. He nodded. "It gets worse." Outside the cockpit, the stars flickered, just for a second. I thought it was my imagination, until they did it again. And this time, they didn't look the same. Something about them was wrong. "Ethan," Roar said slowly, "check the sky." I looked up past the windshield, into the night, and that's when I saw it. The stars weren't where they should be. Constellations I'd known my entire career were stretched, distorted to shapes that didn't make sense. Like someone had taken the sky, bump, and pulled it. "Place, what the hell?" I whispered. "That's Rule 3. Roar said. I turned back to the card, hands slightly shaking. "If the stars appear distorted, do not correct your course. Toward them, trust your assigned heading." My heartbeat started to rise. "You're telling me this is normal?" I asked. "No," Roar said. "It's predictable. There's a difference." The aircraft continued forward, steady dot on course. But the sky was no longer normal, and deep down, I had the feeling that something out there had just noticed us. The cockpit stayed silent, but that silence didn't feel safe anymore. It felt watched. I kept staring at the sky, trying to convince myself it was just an illusion, a trick of light, a reflection, anything but what it looked like. But the stars didn't go back to normal. They kept shifting, slowly, almost deliberately. "Captain," I said quietly, "this is atmospheric distortion, right?" Roar didn't answer immediately. "That's what the report will say," he replied. I didn't like that answer. Before I could say anything else, the radio clicked again, soft, almost polite. "Ethan." My entire body, TENSED. Not loud this time, not urgent, just calm, to calm. "I know you can hear me." I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't even blink. "Stay on course," Roar said quietly. "Do not react," the voice continued. "You did the right thing not responding earlier. That made it worse, because now it sounded reasonable, understanding, like it was. On our side, there's traffic ahead of you," the voice said. "Unidentified. You need to adjust your heading." I instinctively glanced at the radar. Clear. Nothing. No aircraft. No signals. No movement. False information. Roar said immediately. "Ignore it." But the voice didn't stop. "Ethan, listen to me. You're heading into unsafe conditions." My grip tightened on the controls, because part of me believed it. That's how pilots are trained. You hear danger, you respond, but something about the timing, the tone, the way it said my name, it wasn't right. "You're trained to trust information," Roar said, as if reading my thoughts. But not all information is real. The voice shifted again. This time it sounded concerned. Ethan, your instruments are about to fail. I looked down instantly. Everything was stable. Airspeed normal. Altitude steady. Heading locked. Perfect. Then the altitude flickered. Just one number dot. Then it stabilized again. My chest tightened. Did you see that? I asked. Yes, Roar said. Don't chase it. The radio voice returned. See, it's already starting. Now it sounded satisfied, like it had proven something. You need to descend it. Continued flight level 310 now. That was a real instruction. A believable one. Exactly the kind of correction Basie would give. And that's what made it dangerous. My hand moved. Again. Almost automatically. Hold. Roar said firmly. But if this is real, it's not, he cut in. How can you be so sure? I snapped, because now it wasn't just fear, it was doubt. And doubt is worse, because it's pushing you, he said calmly. Real control doesn't rush you like this. The voice changed again. Now it sounded irritated. Ethan called. You are in violation of instructions. My heart skipped. That tone, that authority. It hit something deep in my training. You are required to comply. Immediately, my breathing got heavier. This was getting harder, way harder. The sky outside shifted. Again, the stars twisted further, pulling into shapes that didn't exist. I felt disoriented for a second, like up and down didn't make sense anymore. Focus on the horizon, Roar said, not the sky. I forced my eyes forward, but the feeling didn't go away. The voice dropped its act completely. You're making a mistake. Cold, flat. No. One will know if you adjust course. That sentence sent a chill down my spine, because it wasn't about safety anymore. It was about temptation. 20 miles southeast, it continued. 12,000 feet. Double quotes. Coordinates. Specific ones. Too specific. What's there? I asked. Roar didn't answer. He didn't need to. Nothing, he finally said. Just ocean. But the way he said it didn't sound certain. The radio went silent again. This time longer. Too long. I swallowed hard. Is it over? I asked. Roar shook his head slightly. No, he said. It's changing approach. A cold feeling settled in my chest. Approach, I repeated. That was pressure, he said. Next comes manipulation. Right on cue. The radio clicked again, but this time it wasn't the same voice. Ethan. I froze, because I knew that voice. I hadn't heard it in years. Marcus. I whispered. Silence filled the cockpit. Then you push me. My blood ran cold, because Marcus was dead. My hands went cold on the controls. That voice was impossible. Marcus, I said under my breath. Roar didn't look at me, didn't react, but I could feel it. He heard it too. Don't engage, he said quietly, but I couldn't move, because the voice on the radio wasn't just similar, it was exact. Same tone, same rhythm, same way he used to say, "My name, you there?" The voice said again, "Come on, man, don't do this." My chest tightened. Memories hit me all at once. The last mission, the last call, the silence that followed. "You said you wouldn't leave me." The voice whispered. My grip loosened slightly. "Ethan," Roar said sharply, "stay with me." But I was already slipping, because this wasn't a random voice anymore. This was personal. "How is this possible?" I whispered. "You're asking the wrong question," Roar replied. "Then what's the right one?" I said. "Why is it sane?" "This." The radio crackled again. "I'm still here," Marcus said. "I didn't die out there." My heart started racing. "That's not real," I muttered, more to myself than anyone else. "You saw the wreckage," the voice continued. "But you never saw my body." That was true, and that's what made it dangerous, because it planted doubt. "You left before you confirmed," the voice said softly. I felt my breathing get uneven. "Stop," Roar said. "Don't let it build the narrative." But it already had. "What if I'm wrong?" I whispered. That was the moment it needed. The exact moment. "Then fix it," the voice said instantly. "Too fast, too ready. Coordinates incoming." It continued. "Just come down and see for yourself." My eyes flicked to the navigation screen. Numbers. Appeared coordinates. Exactly where it said. My stomach dropped, because the system had updated without any input. "That's not possible," I said. "It didn't update," Roar replied. "It inserted." That word hit different dot inserted dot, like something had forced its way into our systems. "Ethan," Marcus said again. "Suffer now. I'm scared." That broke something inside me, because Marcus was never scared. Not once. Not even at the end. And that's how I knew something was wrong. "You don't sound like him," I said slowly. There was a pause, a long one. Then, "You don't remember everything," the voice replied. Now it sounded off, like it was trying too hard, like it had almost lost the act. "Good," Roar said quietly. "You're seeing it." The radio hissed softly, and then the voice shifted again, colder this time. "You're wasting time." No emotion, no disguise. "Descend now." My jaw tightened. "No," I said under my breath. That single word changed everything. The cockpit temperature dropped, not dramatically, but enough to notice. My breath became visible for a second. "What the hell?" I whispered. "Stay focused," Roar said. "It reacts to resistance." Outside, the stars twisted further. The patterns became unnatural, almost painful to look at. "Ethan," the voice said again. But now it didn't sound human. "You were supposed to come down." A chill ran through my spine, because that sentence didn't sound like a request. It sounded like disappointment. "What is this thing?" I asked. Roar finally looked at me. "Something that doesn't exist officially," he said. "Then how do you know about it?" I pressed. "Because I've seen it before." That made my stomach drop even further. "How many times?" I asked. He hesitated enough to know. He paused. That it learned. The radio went completely silent. No static, no signal, nothing. And somehow that was worse, because now it wasn't trying anymore. It was waiting. And deep down I knew this wasn't. Overdot, not even close. The silence didn't last long, because ahead of us the sky began to change. At first it looked like a normal storm, Clouds building in the distance, dark, heavy, nothing unusual for this route. But then lightning flashed inside the clouds, not down toward the ocean, but across the sky itself, like veins of light spreading sideways. "That's not normal," I said. "No," Roar replied. "It's not." The weather radar lit up, but not the way it should. Instead of defined storm cells, it showed shifting masses, shapes that didn't hold form, like something was moving inside them. "Maintain course," Roar said. "Straight through that?" I asked. "We don't divert unless it's real weather," he replied. "And this isn't," I said. "It doesn't behave like weather." That answer didn't help. The aircraft pushed forward, closer to the storm, closer to whatever that was. The radio remained silent, too silent, like it had stepped back to watch the first turbulence hit, sharp, sudden. The plane jolted slightly. Then, "Stabilize. Light chop," I said automatically. "Yeah," Roar replied. But his voice didn't sound convinced. Another flash of lightning, this time closer, and for a split second I saw something inside the clouds, a shape, massive, gone, before I could focus. "Did you see that?" I asked. "No," Roar said, but it didn't sound sure. The cockpit lights flickered just once. Then everything returned to normal, except it didn't feel normal anymore. Ethan Roar said slowly, "Be ready." "For what?" I asked. He didn't answer. That was answer enough. We entered the storm. Rain didn't hit the windshield. There was no sound of impact, no streaks of water, just darkness, complete darkness, like we had flown into something solid. "What the hell?" I whispered. The radar went blank, no returns, no signals, nothing. "We're still moving." I said. "I know," Roar replied. But outside, there was no sense of motion, no horizon, no stars, no clouds, just nothing, a perfect void. Then the instruments started to flicker. Airspeed jumped. 300, 350, 400 knots. "That's impossible," I said. "Don't chase it," Roar said immediately. Altitude shifted next, dropping 35,000, 32, 28. "We're not descending," I said. "I know," Roar replied. But the numbers kept falling. The artificial horizon tilted, showing a bank to the left. "Are we turning?" I asked. "No," Roar said. My inner ear agreed with him. We were level, but the instruments said otherwise. Then everything hit at once. Stall, overspeed, bank angle. Alarms exploded across the cockpit, contradicting each other, screaming, different emergencies at the same time. My heart slammed against my chest. "What do we follow?" I shouted. "Nothing," Roar snapped. "Nothing." I repeated. "They're lying." That sentence felt insane. Every part of my training screamed against it. Trust your instruments always. But right now, they made no sense. The GPS flickered. Coordinates changed rapidly. .Nevada, .Arctic, .unknown, .places that were impossible. "We're losing everything," I said. "No," Roar replied. "We're being shown everything." That didn't make it better. The radio clicked again. The same smooth voice returned, Meridian, Empatratus, Jujublas. You are experiencing spatial disorientation. Calm. Professional. Trust your instruments. That phrase hit hard, because that's what pilots are taught from day one. Always trust your instruments. You need to correct immediately. The voice continued. Roll right. Descend to flight level 310. It sounded perfect, exactly like real guidance. And that's what made it dangerous. The autopilot suddenly pushed forward. The yoke moved in my hands. Autopilot's diving. I said, disconnect it, Roar ordered. I hit the switch. The pressure released instantly. Now, it was all manual. And nothing made sense. No horizon, no stars, no reliable instruments. Just darkness and noise, Captain. I said, my voice shook. What do we do? Roar looked straight ahead, calm, focused. Then he said something that went against everything I knew. Do nothing. I stared at him. What? I said. Hold the controls, he said, straight and level. But the instruments are wrong. The alarm screamed louder. The artificial horizon flipped, showing us inverted dot flying upside down. That's not real, Roar said. But it looked real. It felt real. Everything told me to correct, to move, to fix it. My hands started to react. Then I remembered the Cardot Rule 9. If the stars disappear all at once, fly straight and level for 60 seconds. Do not correct. My heart pounded. 60 seconds of doing nothing, while everything screamed at you to act. Captain, I said slowly, I'm holding steady. Roar nodded. I'll count. The alarms reached a peak. The voice on the radio grew sharper. Correct immediately. Then louder. You are in danger. Then angry. Move the controls. My grip tightened. Every instinct in my body was breaking. 10 seconds, Roar said. This was going to be the longest minute of my life, and deep down, I knew whatever was out there was not going to make this easy. The return flight should have been normal. That's what made it worse. Because when nothing happens, you start believing maybe it was just a one event, and glitch, a nightmare, something your mind created to cope with the silence of the Pacific. But the ocean doesn't forget, and neither does the thing that lives above it. We took off at 20 to 40 local time. Same aircraft, same route, same crew. Roar in the left seat, me in the right. J behind us, quieter than usual. No one said it out loud. But we were all waiting. Cruise altitude. FL 350. Clear. Skies. Perfect visibility. The stars were sharp and steady. Too steady. Feels normal, Jay said finally. Roar didn't answer. He just reached up and adjusted the laminated card on the visor so it sat directly in his line of sight. That told me everything. We passed 2 o'clock Zulu, then 2:10. The window opened. Rule 1. Territory. Silence. No radio calls. No strange signals. Nothing. Maybe it's done with us. Jay said. That was mistake number 1. At 2:17 Zulu. The cargo temperature dropped by 3 degrees. Not enough to trigger an alarm, but enough to notice. I checked the panel. Cargo temp fluctuation. I said. Roar nodded. Watch it. We didn't speak after that, because we all remembered. Another rule, not written, but understood. When something starts small, it's already too late. 2:21 Zulu. Dot. The cargo camera flickered. Just once. Jay leaned forward. Did you see that? I saw it, I said. The screen returned to normal. Empty cargo hold, secured containers, nothing moving. Then it flickered. Again, that's time, longer, and for just a frame. Something was standing between the containers. Not clear, not fully visible, but tall, too tall. Jay stood up. I'm checking the hold. Sit down. Roar said immediately. Rule 5. Do not open the cockpit door. But if something's back there, it wants you to think that. Silence. Heavy. Pressing. The camera flickered again. Now the thing was closer, still distorted, like it wasn't fully inside the frame, like reality itself didn't know how to display it. Jay's voice dropped. That's not a glitch. No one disagreed. 2:25 Zulu. The radio clicked, not the main frequency. Not HF. Intercom. From the cabin. Captain. The voice was weak, shaking. Jay froze. That's me. We turned slowly. That intercom crackled again. Jay. I need help. I'm in the cargo hold. My stomach dropped, because Jay was right behind us. Alive, breathing, and something else was pretending to be him. Roar didn't hesitate. Disable intercom. I hit the switch. The voice cut off instantly. Silence returned, but it wasn't empty anymore. It felt occupied. 2:28 Zulu. The cargo camera went black. Not static. Not glitching. Just gone. Jay whispered. What if it's actually there? Roar answered without looking back. Then it can stay there. We flew on to 31 Zulu. The stars flickered just once. Then again my hands tightened on the yoke. Captain, I see it. The stars weren't disappearing. Not yet, but they were shifting, like something was moving between us and them. Something massive. And then the radio came alive. 417. You ignored the call earlier. Not a human voice. Not anymore. It sounded layered, multiple tones at once. We adapted. Roar reached for the radio, then stopped. Rule 1. Don't respond. The voice continued. We learn. The stars flickered again. The cargo camera came back, and this time the thing was staring directly into it. No distortion, no blur. Clear. A face that wasn't a face. Eyes that weren't eyes. But somehow it was looking at us. Through the screen, through the aircraft, through us. Jay whispered. It knows we're watching. The radio whispered back, yes. And then everything went dark. The stars didn't disappear this time. They were taken, like something reached into the sky, and pulled them out one by one, until there was nothing left, no horizon. No reference, no light, just black. Not again, Jay said. But it wasn't the same last time. It was chaos. This time, it was controlled. The instruments didn't fail immediately. They waited, like something was watching what we would do first. Hold steady. Roar, said Dot. My hands were already locked because I understood something. No, this wasn't random. This was a test, and it was getting harder. The artificial horizon tilted Dot just 5 degrees. Then 10. Slow, subtle, believable, corrected, Jay said instinctively. I didn't move, because that's how it wins, not with panic, Dot with doubt. Trust. You're training. The radio said, perfectly calm, perfectly human, and completely wrong. The airspeed began to drop. 285, 260, 240. A stall warning chirped softly. Not screaming, not urgent, just enough to make you react. That's real, Jay said. No, I replied. How do you know? Because I finally understood the rule behind all the rules. If everything tells you to act, do nothing. The voice changed again. Ethan, please. My chest tightened. That voice. I knew it. Marcus. The same name, the same tone, the same memory. You let me die once. My grip slipped just slightly. Don't. Roar said sharply. Don't listen. The stall warning got louder. The darkness outside began to move again. Shapes. Forming. Closer. Not outside anymore. Inside. Reflected. In the glass. Behind us. Jay turned. Screamed. I didn't look, because I knew. If I looked, I'd believe it. And if I believed it, I'd react. And if I reacted, we were dead. Time. I said 30 seconds. Roar replied. Halfway, the hardest part. Because now, your mind starts bargaining. Maybe this time is real. Maybe this time the instruments are right. Maybe doing nothing is the mistake. That's how it breaks. Do, not with fear, with logic. 40 seconds. The voice screamed. Now you are dying. The aircraft shook. Or maybe a DIDN. Single quotes. There was no way to tell anymore. 50 seconds. The cockpit door handle moved. Slowly turning. Something was outside, trying to come in. Jay was crying. Please, do something. I didn't. 55 seconds. The darkness pressed against the glass. Faces again. Closer, clearer, clearer. And one of them was mine. 60 seconds. Everything. Topped silence. Then light. The stars snapped back into place. That horizon returned. The instruments stabilized. Airspeed 285. Altitude steady. Wings level. Exactly where we had been. Exactly where we never left. I exhaled for the first time in a minute. But something had changed, because this time it didn't feel like we escaped. It felt like we passed, and something out there was getting ready for the next test. For a few minutes, everything was normal again. To normal. The kind of normal that feels staged. like a set after the actors. Leave no one spoke, not because we didn't want to, but because we were listening, waiting for the next move. Status check, Raw said finally. All systems normal, I replied. Airspeed stable, altitude steady, navigation correct. Jay didn't answer. Jay, I said. Silence. I turned slightly. He was still there, sitting in the jump seat. But something was wrong. He wasn't moving, not even breathing. Jay, I said again, slowly. He lifted his head and smiled, not like a person, too wide, too still. My stomach dropped because I realized something too late. We never checked if everything that came back was real. Don't look at him, Raw said quietly. My eyes snapped forward. Captain, I know. His voice was calm, but tighter than before. We assumed the test ended, he said. That was mistake number 2. Behind us, Jay laughed, but it wasn't his voice. It was Laird, the same way the radio had been. You follow rules. It said to a pause, but rules can be learned. The temperature dropped. Do again, not just in the cargo hold. Everywhere, breath. Visible frost forming at the edges of the windshield. New rule. Raw said under his breath, don't acknowledge anything that appears after recovery. Too late, because it was already talking. You think doing nothing saves you. It whispered. The controls vibrated slightly, then do nothing. The autopilot clicked on by itself. I hadn't touched it. Raw hadn't touched it, and it began to descend. Autopilot disconnect. Raw ordered. I hit the switch. Nothing happened. The aircraft continued descending. FL-350, FL-340, FL-330. Override it, Raw said. I pulled the yoke. Heavy resistance, like something was holding it down. Do nothing. The voice repeated behind us. The thing wearing Jay's face stood up. You survived by not acting, it said. So now, don't act. That's when I understood. It wasn't repeating the test. It was reversing it, using the rule against us, Captain. I said, I know. He replied. New condition, he said. If control is taken, the rule changes. The aircraft passed FL-320. Too fast. Power up. Raw, said Dot. I pushed the throttles. No response. The engines didn't change, because we weren't in control anymore. Ethan, the voice said Dot, right behind my ear. Let go. I didn't turn. I didn't move, because that's what it wanted, not action, but surrender. Think. Raw said sharply. Think what it can't fake. My mind raced. Instruments. No visuals. No voices. Definitely not. Then it hit me. Something it couldn't perfectly copy. Timer. I said. Raw understood instantly. Start. Count, he said. For what? Jay's voice asked from behind. For real time, I replied. Because last time, the illusion lasted exactly 60 seconds, not a second more. 10 seconds. Raw counted. The descent continued. FL-310, FL-300. 20 seconds. The voice grew louder. You're going to crash. 30 by seconds. The controls shook harder. The aircraft tilted. 40 seconds. The thing moved closer. I could feel it right behind my seat. 50 seconds. The altimeter spun faster. We were dropping too quickly now. 55. The voice screamed. Act O-R. Die. 60. Nothing changed. My heart stopped, because this time it didn't end. 70 seconds. Roar continued. The voice hesitated, just for a moment, and that's when I knew it made a mistake. Broke its own pattern, because it expected us to break. First 80 seconds. The resistance on the yoke weakened. Slightly. Double quotes now. Roar said. I pulled back hard. The aircraft responded. Barely, but enough. The descent slowed. Power, he said. I pushed again. This time, the engines roared. We climbed slowly, fighting something that didn't want to let go behind us. To think screamed, not in anger, in frustration. You changed the rule. Roar didn't look back. We wrote a new one. The pressure vanished. Instantly. Cockpit returned to normal. The autopilot disengaged. The temperature rose. And behind us, Jay collapsed into his seat, gasping. Alive. Real. This time we didn't speak for a long time, because we all understood now. The rules weren't fixed. They were evolving, and so was it. We landed just before sunrise. No one celebrated, no one even smiled, because survival didn't feel like victory anymore. It felt like we were part of something ongoing, something watching, learning, waiting. In the crew lounge, the binder was still there, the same worn pages, the same names, but now we added something new. Roar wrote first. Rule 13. If it adapts, you must adapt faster. I added mine beneath it. Rule 14. Time is the only thing it cannot perfectly control. Jay hesitated, then wrote last. Rule 15. If you survive, make sure the next pilot knows why. We stepped back. 3 new rules. 3 more chances for someone else to live. I looked at the list of names. Below. Survivors. And those who didn't make it. Because now I understood something that terrified me more than anything we faced in the sky. This wasn't random. This wasn't rare. This was happening. Over and over again. Across decades. Across flights. Across people who never met, but learned the same lessons. I closed the binder, but before I did, I noticed something new. At the very last page, a line, written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Fresh ink. It wasn't a rule. It was a message. It reads this too. I froze. Captain, I said quietly. Roar looked over. I showed him. He didn't react. Not visibly. But his jaw tightened. We assumed the rules were ours, he said. A long pause. Maybe they never were. That night, lying in the hotel room, I couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because of a question that wouldn't leave my mind. If it can learn, if it can adapt, if it can read what we write, then what happens when it knows all the rules? My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't open it. I didn't need to, because I already knew. Somewhere out there, over the dark Pacific, something was waiting, not for a mistake, but for a new player, a new mind, a new weakness, and maybe that next pilot is already in the air, listening, just like we were.